I spent 18 months and $32,000 building my dream wedding. Every detail, every deposit, every promise. And then my own sister, Jessica, canceled my venue and stole my date for her birthday party. She thought she was clever. She thought using her company's credit card would cover her tracks. What she didn't realize was that she wasn't stealing from me. She was handing me the keys to her own prison cell. This isn't just the story of a ruined wedding. It's the story of how I dismantled a traitor's life with surgical precision. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. My name is Sarah, and for as long as I can remember, I have been the backup plan for my family. You know the type? The sister who remembers the birthdays, the one who stays sober at the party to drive everyone home, the one with the stable job and the boring 401k. I'm an architectural drafter. I spend my days obsessing over blueprints, making sure that every load-bearing wall is exactly where it needs to be, so the whole structure doesn't come crashing down. I guess I tried to apply that same logic to my relationship with my older sister, Jessica. I thought if I just kept reinforcing her, if I kept being her foundation, our bond would never break. Jessica is 3 years older than me, but emotionally, she stayed 21 forever. She's beautiful. I'll give her that. She has that effortless influencer look, the kind of person who walks into a room and instantly makes everyone else feel like they're just background characters in her movie. While I was pulling all-nighters in college, Jessica was finding herself on a beach in Bali, funded by our parents' dwindling savings. When she finally got a job in PR at Apex Public Relations, we all breathed a sigh of relief. We thought she had finally grown up. But Jessica didn't grow up. She just got better at hiding the cracks. To the world, she was this high-flying executive, but to me, she was a constant emergency. She would call me at 2 a.m. sobbing because she'd spent her rent money on a designer handbag and needed a bridge loan just for a few weeks. Those weeks turned into years. I became a safety net she didn't even respect. She'd take my money, then turn around and mock my beige life and my fiancé, Mark. Mark is a high school teacher, steady, kind, and the only person who ever truly saw me. Jessica used to call him the human oatmeal. She couldn't understand why I'd want a life built on substance when I could have one built on shadows and filters. I ignored the insults. I kept helping her. I thought that's what sisters did. I didn't realize that while I was building a bridge to keep her safe, she was busy dousing it in gasoline. Planning a wedding is supposed to be the happiest time of your life, but for me, it felt like I was guarding a treasure chest from a pirate. I had a very specific vision: the Glass Pavilion. It's this breathtaking venue on the edge of the city, all floor-to-ceiling windows and wrought iron beams. When the sun sets, the whole place glows like a lantern. It's expensive, $15,000 just for the deposit, but I had been putting away every spare cent from my drafting commissions for 3 years. Mark and I didn't want a lifestyle, we wanted a memory. Of course, Jessica couldn't just let me have that. Every time I mentioned a floral arrangement or a catering menu, she'd yawn or start scrolling through her phone. "It's all so traditional, Sarah," she'd say, her voice dripping with that condescending pity she practiced in the mirror. "Are you sure you want to spend that much on a party for a teacher's salary? It's a bit nouveau riche, don't you think?" This was coming from the woman who, just 6 months prior, had called me in a panic because she was $8,000 deep in credit card debt and her car was about to be repossessed. I paid it. I didn't even ask for a promissory note. I just pulled it from my personal savings, thinking that if I cleared the path for her, she'd finally stop trying to trip me. That was my mistake. I was paying for her mistakes, and in her mind, that meant my money was actually her money. I even let her into the planning process. I thought it would be a bonding experience. We shared a digital vision board, and I gave her the login to the venue's portal so she could help me coordinate the delivery of the centerpieces while I was at work. I felt proud of her. She was finally acting like a sister. She'd say things like, "That October 14th date is just perfect. The lighting will be incredible." I thought she was envisioning me in my white dress. I didn't realize she was looking at the calendar and seeing her 30th birthday, which fell on that exact weekend, and deciding that my boring wedding was a waste of a perfectly good venue. While I was at my desk drawing load-bearing walls for clients, Jessica was redrawing the blueprints of my life to suit her own ego. The collapse didn't start with a bang. It started with the polite professional vibrato of my cell phone on a mahogany conference table. It was 14 days before the wedding. I remember the light in the office was particularly harsh that day. I stepped out into the hallway to answer, expecting a question about the seating chart or the hors d'oeuvres. "Sarah, this is Mr. Henderson from the Glass Pavilion," the voice said. He sounded hesitant, almost pained. "I'm calling to confirm that we've processed the cancellation request sent over by your family representative this morning. Since it's within the 14-day window, I'm afraid the $32,000 total balance is non-refundable, but we've successfully moved the credit to the new booking as requested." The floor beneath me didn't just shake, it vanished. I felt like I was free falling through a dark elevator shaft. "Cancellation?" I whispered. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. "Mr. Henderson, I didn't cancel my wedding. What are you talking about?" There was a long, suffocating silence on the other end. We received a call at 9:00 a.m. from a woman identifying herself as you. She had all your security credentials, your portal login, your mother's maiden name, the works. She said the wedding was off because of, well, she mentioned infidelity on the groom's part. She sounded devastated, Sarah. I didn't hang up. I didn't scream. I grabbed my car keys, walked past my boss without a word, and drove to the pavilion like a woman possessed. When I burst into Henderson's office, my chest was heaving. "Play it," I demanded. "Play the recording of that call." Every professional venue records their lines for quality assurance. Henderson pressed a button, and there it was, my own sister's voice, filtered through a fake sob, dripping with manufactured heartbreak. "Mark cheated," she told the recording. "Everything is ruined, but my family is having a crisis. We need to salvage the deposit. Can we please just flip the booking to the Diamond Gala for my sister Jessica? It's her 30th. We need something to celebrate in all this darkness." I sat there, staring at the digital calendar on Henderson's monitor. Saturday, October 14th. My wedding day was gone. In its place, in bold glittering letters, was Jessica's 30th Diamond Gala. She hadn't just stolen the day. She had used the $15,000 deposit I'd spent 3 years saving, plus the $17,000 final payment I'd just authorized to fund a party for herself. She had murdered my reputation, told the world my fiancé was a cheater, and used my corpse as a stepping stone for her influencer brand. I looked at Henderson. He looked terrified. I didn't cry. The heat in my blood had turned into something much colder, something Arctic. I didn't go home. I didn't call Mark to tell him he'd been branded a cheater by a woman he'd only ever tried to be kind to. I stayed in Mr. Henderson's office, my eyes scanning the paperwork Jessica had signed to authorize the transition of funds. She had been sloppy. Jessica always believed she was the smartest person in the room because she was the loudest, but she lacked the patience for details. As I flipped through the digital receipts on Henderson's iPad, I saw it. To cover the remaining $5,000 event change fee and the upgraded premium bar package she'd added for her gala, she hadn't used her own bank account. In the payment field, there was a scanned image of a sleek black corporate card. Embossed in silver were the words, "Apex Public Relations, Jessica Miller." A cold, sharp thrill ran down my spine. I knew how Apex worked. I'd heard Jessica brag about their strict client entertainment policies. They were a top-tier firm. They didn't pay for 30th birthday parties for junior PR associates. They paid for steaks with CEOs and drinks with journalists. "Mr. Henderson," I said, my voice eerily calm, "I need copies of everything. The recording, the signed transfer of the deposit, and specifically this invoice showing the Apex corporate card payment." "Sarah, if there's a family dispute, I really shouldn't—" "This isn't a dispute," I interrupted, looking him dead in the eye. "This is identity theft and corporate embezzlement. You can give me the copies now, or you can give them to the police when they arrive to shut down this venue as a crime scene. Your choice." He printed them. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in my car with a folder that contained Jessica's entire life. I looked at that black corporate card on the paper and realized Jessica hadn't just betrayed me. She had handed me the matches to burn her world down. She thought she was pivoting my wedding into her brand launch. She thought I'd be too humiliated by the cheating rumors to fight back. She forgot that I'm an architect. I know exactly which stone to pull to make the whole tower fall. I spent the next 12 days in a state of absolute surgical silence. Jessica sent me a single text. "I heard about Mark. I'm so sorry, babe. I stepped in to save the venue deposit so the money didn't go to waste. You're welcome to come to my gala if you need a distraction." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. While she was busy hiring a videographer and ordering custom Jessica's Diamond Year neon signs, I was working. First, I called Mark. We didn't cry, we planned. We took $2,000, a fraction of what we'd lost, and booked a secluded botanical garden for a private ceremony on the same day. No influencers, no drama, just us. Then I went to work on the dossier. I didn't just have the venue receipts. I had years of bank statements showing the loans I'd given Jessica, contrasted against her social media posts of luxury hauls. I drafted an email. I didn't send it to Jessica. I addressed it to Julian Vane, the CEO of Apex Public Relations, and CC'd their head of legal and the VP of finance. The subject line was simple: formal inquiry regarding corporate asset misuse, invoice A842, Glass Pavilion. I attached the recording of Jessica pretending to be me to cancel a wedding. I attached the invoice showing her using the Apex corporate card for a personal birthday party, totaling $22,000 when you factored in the stolen deposit. I scheduled that email to go out at 6 p.m. on the night of the gala, exactly when the first champagne bottle was set to pop. The glass pavilion was glowing just as I'd imagined, but the air inside was thick with the stench of Jessica's arrogance. I walked in at 7 p.m. She was center stage in a $5,000 silk gown, holding a glass of my vintage champagne. When she saw me, she didn't look guilty. She looked triumphant. "Sarah, you actually came to see how a real event is handled," she sneered, leaning in to whisper, "Don't make a scene about the money. It's a bad look." "I'm not here for the money, Jessica," I said, checking my watch. "I'm here for the finale." At that exact moment, the heavy oak doors swung open. It wasn't more guests. It was Julian Vane, the CEO of Apex PR, followed by two men in dark suits and a uniformed officer. The music died. The influencers lowered their phones. Julian didn't look at the decor. He looked at Jessica with a disgust so cold it withered her. "Jessica Miller?" Julian's voice boomed through the silent hall. "The firm has reviewed the invoices for this networking event. You're fired, effective immediately, and the police are here to discuss the $22,000 in corporate funds you've embezzled to pay for it." The champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor I had paid for. As the handcuffs clicked shut over her manicured wrists, the venue manager stepped forward. Since the event was funded by fraud, the pavilion seized everything: the food, the decor, even the diamond party favors as collateral. I walked out of that building without looking back. I drove straight to the botanical garden where Mark was waiting under a canopy of oak trees. We got married with only 12 witnesses, the sound of the wind, and a peace that money could never buy. Jessica is currently serving 3 years for felony embezzlement, and her followers have moved on to the next scandal. I'm still an architect, but I've learned one thing. You don't need a glass pavilion to have a beautiful life. You just need to make sure the people inside it aren't trying to tear it down. It's a chilling reminder of how quickly the people closest to us can turn our dreams into their stepping stones. And I want to ask you something honestly. At what point do you think I should have walked away? Was there a moment I ignored, or was my cold, calculated justice the only way to truly stop the cycle? What you just watched was a fictional dramatization created for societal reform and awareness. I chose to share my story this way to highlight the devastating impact betrayal can have within families. These stories expose dark realities, but please don't repeat these negative behaviors or schemes in your own lives. Real justice should always be handled through proper legal channels. In the end, I found my peace, and I learned something powerful. Money can be recovered, but your integrity is priceless. If my story meant something to you, if you learned something valuable, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Join me daily. Because some lessons are painful, but they're worth hearing.